Welcome back, Wildcat fans, to another edition of the Deer Park Coaches Show. I'm Jake Snyder, joined as always, Coach Tucker Berger. All right, this week, Tuck, we're going to break down 21-16 loss to Reading in a pretty strange game, honestly. Definitely a tough one. We'll look at a few things, and then more importantly, look ahead towards this Friday's matchup on the road against Mariemont. I feel like every week I say this next one's the most important one, but the fact is the next one is the most important one. Yeah. All right, let's get into this 21-16 loss against Reading. This is, when I say this is a strange game, a couple things that I want to look at real quick before we get into some film and some stats is you guys had an 18-play drive in this game. They had a 16-play drive in this game. You wasted almost a full quarter in the first quarter, leading into the second quarter, and then they wasted basically the entire the entire fourth quarter. There weren't a lot of plays run in this game. You guys only ran 11 plays in the second half offensively. They only ran 15 plays in the first half offensively. This game kind of, you took one blink and it was over. Talk me through this just a little bit.
I mean, I remember looking down at my watch and I was like, it's 7:40 and there's about a minute left in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, we both just really specialize in running the football, and I think we both had a pretty good run game all night. I mean, there's some games we go in where we're focused on eating the clock, and I mean, this wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
But it just kind of happened. I mean, we were getting 3-4 yards, and I mean, we didn't break any real big home runs at that point. But I mean, I think that's just a credit to where our kids are and how well they've developed with the offense. I mean, now we're running the triple pretty much as well as we can, and we're hitting on our other plays. So it's just, I think we're showing we don't need the chunk plays to have success. I mean, I know we scored on a pretty nice play that we'll look at a little bit later. But I think for the most part, I mean, the gains were about 4 and 5 yards. And I mean, there were a few that were 2 and 3. But I think it just shows if we consistently do it, I mean, we're tough to get off the field. Yeah,
I mean, an 18-play drive in any game is something, especially for somebody who hangs their hat on running the ball. Yeah. That's what you want. You want to eat up quarters. You want to eat up time. Obviously, those chunk plays are a big part of your game, and have been this whole year. But seeing you guys run an 18-play drive, not really shoot yourselves in the foot too much. You did have one penalty on that drive, but we talked about it beforehand. I'm not sure it was, but anyway. But again, you kind of just methodically worked your way down the field. And you give yourself a chance to go into halftime with a lead, even though you've only had 3 possessions in the first half. You got to like that.
And that was, I mean, I think the crazy thing, thinking back on it, I think we only probably had 6 possessions, and we scored on half of them. So, I mean, usually you're like, wow, 6 possessions in a game, like that's a short game. And I mean, scoring on half of them. Yeah. I mean, you're usually in the game, which we were.
Right. Well, and you only ran 41 offensive plays in the entire game, which is crazy.
About half of them in the first drive.
And exactly, almost half of them were in the first drive. Yeah. So, a couple of stats in this game to look at from the offensive side of the ball. Isaiah Alford, I thought, had a really nice kind of workhorse type of game. 12 carries, 56 yards. He had that big long one. We'll look at that here in a second. But I feel like he really is developing into a huge part of your offense. And when you have an 18-play drive, go back to it and beat a dead horse here, but he played a huge role in that drive, and also just I thought his game just continues to improve week over week.
Yeah, and I think we had talked about it throughout the week that I had thought Reading was going to try to take away our outside game. So, I really put the challenge on him and Jaden to run between the tackles and get some yards, and I mean, that's what he did. I mean, when Tink went down, Jaden had to kick out and play slot, so really it was just Isaiah, man, in the back half. Yep. And I thought he did a really good job. I mean, if you watch the game, or I know you have the ability to go watch the film, I mean, there's times where he's cutting back and he's picking up maybe 10, 12 yards on plays. So I think he just is at the point now where he's doing a really good job of hitting the hole, but then he's also doing a good job of reading those blocks and either bouncing or cutting it back. I mean, he's light years ahead of where he was to start the year, and it's just really nice to see right now.
Well, and that's just going to be a huge piece as you move into these last couple of games, and then hopefully into the playoffs too. To be able to have that threat in the middle really gives you a chance to open things up on the outside, which is going to be important coming up. All right, in the receiving game, Morgan Brown has 3 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown in the fourth quarter. I thought Riley McHugh had a really nice game offensively, 43 yards and touchdown. That touchdown catch was really, really nice. Good throw from EJ. Yeah. That one confused me a little bit when I saw it. But obviously, Tink went down, but was back in the game later. Mm-hmm. So, offensively, I thought you threw the ball pretty well as well.
Yeah, this game. And I mean, looking at that last drive of the game we had, we had to throw it to get down the field. Mm-hmm. I think we completed 2 or 3 pretty long passes to get down. And I mean, that's just a credit to the guys and how hard they work in practice on just timing. And we did a whole little period of just 2-minute stuff. So just practice on getting on the ball and going. And I think, it just shows that's working off. So I really, I'm proud of what they're doing. And I think they're just carrying stuff that we're practicing into the games. It works.
Yeah. Defensively, Justin Moore leads the way with 15 total tackles. 7 solo tackles. Isaiah and Jaden Moore both had double-digit tackles, 11 and 12. Lucas has 10 tackles, 8 solo tackles. And then we had a forced fumble that wasn't in that game. Also, defensively, getting off the field on that one drive wasn't really what you wanted, but I thought defensively you played a pretty good game. You only gave up 21 points, what were your thoughts coming away from that one?
It just felt like a game where whoever had the ball last, was going to pull it out. But our defense, that's probably the toughest game we've played up until this point. That's just smash mouth football. We knew they were going to run it right at us. That's just where it really tests, how strong are you, how bad do you want it? And we're at the point now where we're not questioning our kids playing 48 minutes.
Yeah.
Our defense was out there. It felt like forever in the second half, and they didn't let them just get in or break real long runs. Sure, there's a few breakdowns in the back half on some passes, but, those are going to happen when you play a team who runs the ball probably 85% of the time.
Right, yeah.
But, I thought our defensive line played really, really well. I thought our linebackers played a good game too. Mm-hmm. And, that was the challenge we had for them because we knew, the wing tee's coming. They're going to run a whole lot of fullback dive. They're going to run some stuff off tackle. Like, you got to man up and make some plays, and I think they did for the most part.
Yeah, and honestly, the long drive, you got yourself off the field, and it's an unfortunate call. It was what it was. We can't take it back at this point. But if you miss the game, it's a 4th and 1 play. You guys forced a fumble. Apparently, there was an inadvertent whistle on the play, which puts them back on the field. They end up scoring the touchdown, which effectively ices the game. The offense goes down and scores again. It was unfortunate moment in the game, the way it happened, the way it all played out. But the point and the reason I bring it all up is to say your defense got off the field. Even in the moment where it felt like, they were beat down, driven down the field, they had the ball for 16 plays or whatever it was at that point, and they still found a way to get off the field, even if they didn't.
Yeah, and it sucks that the game ended that way.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at it from a positive perspective, it's, seniors making plays, Kevin coming up and sticking the guy and knocking it out, Tink recovering it. So, it's that bend, don't break mentality, and, they made a play, and just unfortunately
doesn't go your way.
Doesn't go our way.
All right, let's get into some film because there was a lot to look at from this game, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. We're going to start this in the first quarter here. You guys have driven the ball a pretty good ways down the field, but still have some work to go, and it comes up to 4th and 4. Your quarterback just flat out makes a play here. There's nothing really else to say about this one, but Tink, I called it a hero run. Like, this is sometimes you just need somebody on 4th down to just do something. Yeah. That's what Tink does right here.
And Henry and Morgan, their job is to double team that guy, and he gets a little bit of penetration. And Tink does a good job of bubbling, but that outside guy's taking the pitch, so he knows he's keeping it. And that's just, we've talked about it before, just letting Tink be an athlete, and he gets first down. He smart, gets out of bounds. And it's just a really good play to keep the drive going. I think that was our only 4th down conversion on the drive besides the touchdown.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, it's plays like that, just keep it alive. When you start running it doesn't look like there's going to be anything there, but, he's patient enough to kind of just sort through all that traffic, and then as soon as it opens up, he just, he flips on the burners, he gets to the edge, and he knows where the marker is. He gets right by it and he gets out.
Yeah, a word you said there was patient, and I thought his patience was really kind of on display on this play right here. Just the way that he was able to sit and wait and kind of let everything develop, hit the go button when he needed to, and like you said, the beauty of going to that sideline is he can see that marker.
Yeah.
He sees it right away, and he walks right into it.
So. And I think he's done a really good job these past few weeks of being smarter with the ball, a little bit more protective, and not trying to force pitches or anything like that.
Sometimes losing 5 is okay, more than a fumble or something worse than that. So, all right, we jump ahead here. It's now 3rd and a mile at this point. And what's so interesting about these next 2 plays is if you don't get this play right here, this is going to be a 14-yard run from Brown. If you don't get this play right here, you probably punt this ball away. But I like this play because it puts you in a position where you can go for it on 4th down on the next play here.
Yeah, and I mean, we're just looking to get Morgan the ball in some space. We thought we had the advantage for how they were lining up to our overset. They do a good job on that top part with the tackle and Jaden of sealing the edge first to let Morgan get outside. Kevin does a good job of just running the guy out, taking where he wants to go, and Alfred leads. I thought he was going to break it for a second. But, I mean, that's just Morgan making a play.
Yep.
And he does a really good job of getting to the sideline and then getting out. And, I mean, he picked up enough yards for us to consider going for it. I mean, even with it being 14 yards, you don't really have a play drawn up for 4th and 22. But, he just does a heck of a job of getting to that edge and then making the most out of it. I thought all night, whenever he got to the edge, he did what he could and just tried to get as many yards as he could.
But, you're right. You don't have a play for 4th and 22, but what you do have is the advantage of once you're at the 30-yard line, giving up the ball there isn't a disaster situation, right? Whereas if you give it up at the 50, it's a much bigger deal. You can't. You have to kick that ball away. So I thought your wide receivers blocked this play really, really well, which allowed them to kind of get in space, allowed Morgan to get into space, which was huge. So, all right, this 4th down play, biggest play of the game, obviously, offensively, I thought. It's number 1 at quarterback, which, asking a guy who hasn't played quarterback to come in and make a throw on 4th and forever, he drops this thing right in the bucket to Riley.
Yeah, I mean, EJ's, he was a middle school quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He's been the backup quarterback since his freshman year.
Right.
So, I mean, he's used to the offense. He knows the system. I mean, you just see a little bit of that EJ swag. I mean, he steps up in the pocket, and he threw it right over 2 guys, right where only Riley could catch it. And, I mean, that's a heck of a grab by Riley.
It sure was.
I mean, Riley runs a good route. Riley beats the guy, and, I mean, that's just an incredible play. And, I mean, we were talking about it Saturday, and they are like, we weren't expecting you to call that. I was like, well, I mean, might as well take the shot.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's just EJ and Riley stepping up and making plays. And, I mean, I think it just shows that we have so many guys that can just move around and make plays in different spots. And, I mean, credit to EJ. That's, he didn't really get many quarterback reps throughout the week.
Yeah.
But stepping up in a situation like that and getting us our first score, just really setting the game off, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, and Riley gives you guys a dimension that I don't think I've ever seen from a Deer Park team of that deep ball. And it's not that you guys haven't ever had guys that can run deep balls. Certainly, they're Nori and a couple other guys from several years ago could run the deep ball, but he runs good routes.
Yep.
He's not as fast as those guys that I just mentioned that were all state and all of these things, but he runs good routes. He gets it open, and he catches. If it's close to him, he's going to make a catch.
Yeah.
His hands are by far his best attribute, and I think that's worth talking about a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he does a really good job in practice throughout the week, too. I mean, everything we throw to him, he's catching. And I think he does a good job on his hitches of adjusting to the ball and making plays. I mean, when you look out before the game, if you watch our receiver lines, I mean, Kevin's the one that's blazing down the field.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure teams know he's the one that can move if they watch the film. But, I mean, Riley's got the sneaky speed, but I mean, his hands are just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he catches everything. I mean, that's his second pretty much diving catch of the year on the same ball. So, I mean, just having that ability to trust him, to throw the ball deep to him and really throw it to him in any different route.
Yep.
I mean, it just helps. I mean, you'll see later on. I mean, he makes a catch before halftime, and I mean, he's just quick enough to make a little bit of a move and pick up some extra yards to get us into field goal range.
Yep, for sure.
So just I wish he would have came out the past couple of years. But I mean, we're just happy to have him right now because, I mean, even the receiving game, he blocks his butt off. He plays great defense. I mean, he's just an all-around guy that really helps us be as good as we can be.
For sure. All right, jump to our lone defensive play we're going to look at here. This play is just really nice to look at. P.J. White does a really nice job on a third down play. You guys looking to get off the field. You do, in fact, with this tackle for loss. Good little blitz call, and just talk me through this one.
Yeah. So, I mean, PJ plays at about 100 miles per hour every time he's out there, and he does a good job of timing up the blitz. He beats through that front line, and, I mean, against Wyoming, he was beating guys through the line, but he was just missing those plays. So it's nice to see him make those little adjustments we've talked about throughout the week and just finishing the play. I mean, he made a couple plays on special teams too, just running down the field on kickoff and making plays. But, I mean, that's just another guy that, I mean, a lot of people probably don't know about. They don't see his name too often. I mean, he's only a sophomore.
Yeah.
And he's just a guy that's going to keep getting better and better and better. I mean, I think he's one of the guys who embody a little bit of that culture we're trying to push where it's, just you're playing 100 miles per hour.
Yep.
Even if you make a mistake, just keep going. And, I mean, it shows you right there. I mean, those are big plays for us right there that keep us in the game, end drives, and get us the ball back.
Well, and just to quickly talk about him as a sophomore, like Reading is one of the tougher teams that you're going to play against. I mean, they're 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You talked about it. They run wing T most of the time. They're running up the middle. He came out like he was shot out of a cannon on that play, and just a really nice tackle. He's only going to continue to get better year over year, so you got to love that. All right, this is Alford's play we're going to look at here. He's going to take this one for 30 yards. This just epitomizes what we've been talking about week over week from Isaiah.
Yeah, so he has the ability to go from B to B. He sees that everything over there is crashed down. That backer gets over the top, so he does a good job of bouncing it out. I mean, you lose him on the film, and once he kind of squirts out of that hole, I mean, he's got enough juice to just push it down the field and get those extra yards. And, I mean, he is so quick and he runs so hard, you just don't expect it. I mean, there's a play in here where he's one-on-one the linebacker, and you see the linebacker jolt back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he just has the speed and the power that you love from a running back. And I think, these past few weeks, he's just really had that coming out party, and he's only going to keep progressing as we get to the playoffs.
Yeah. You've talked about it a couple of times over the last few weeks that he disappears behind the linebacker. This play epitomizes that like perfectly. He literally disappears amongst the crowd here, and then all of a sudden you look up and he's running down the sideline. That's just a crazy play, and obviously his biggest play of the week. It's just a fun. Yeah. He's just a fun guy to watch run.
It just seems like I don't even know if he knows what he's going to do half the time when he's out there running. Like, I mean, he just hits a casual spin move in the middle of it. And I'm like, I don't know if you were thinking about it. You just did it.
It's just react.
Some people just have that natural ability to do it. I mean, but he's. I think him and Jaden really stepping up have just. That's really what our offense has been missing.
Yep.
He's been hidden behind Jay Sean for the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he gets his moment to shine. I think he's really doing the most with it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're going to jump ahead. It's tied 7-7 now. You guys get the ball back with not a lot of time left here. We got 3 plays left to look at, but we're going to start with EJ's 12-yard run that kind of gives you a chance to go get a field goal here. Yeah. Riley's catch is going to be next, but this run is really what allowed. I got to take a step back, and we're not going to look at this one, but the kickoff return from, I think it was McHugh who returned it, is actually the biggest play here because that really allows you a chance to
we thought he was gone.
To go for it. He looked like he was going too, but
he started feeling it in his legs. So,
but anyway, you're at the 43-yard line here. Walk me through this run from EJ. This is just pure will right here.
Yeah. So, I mean, it gets blown up again on that edge with the double team, but, I mean, he just does a good job of feeling it, and, he sees the cutback, and he knows they're going to be aggressive of pursuing, and, it's just an athlete being an athlete. I mean, he gets through that little hole and does enough to get the first down and a little bit of extra yards. And, I mean, he's just – when he gets the ball in his hands, he's just so dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean – I think teams just forget about how quick he is sometimes. He might not have the stats that some of the other guys have, But, I mean, it seems like every week he's making 3 or 4 impactful plays that just keep us pushing. So, I mean, I'm glad he's back next year. It's gonna be a real help to us next year. But, I mean, he just makes plays. And I don't think I can stress that enough. And I think just his natural ability to feel openings and feel the holes, it's just really great. And, I mean, it's exciting to watch because, I mean, there's not many people that are going to make this and just shoot back through that little hole. 2 guys. I mean, he makes 2 guys run into each other.
Yeah. Let's not ignore the stiff arm either. Yeah. Puts that guy on the ground right there. He does have a little bit of strength in him also.
Just a little bit.
All right, jump ahead to this pass right here. Tink's back in the game, obviously. This is just good pitch and catch play right here. Yeah. Gets you into really what's manageable field goal range. You're not trying to kick a long one or throw up a desperation Hail Mary. This really puts you in the spot where you feel comfortable putting Colin in there to kick a field goal.
Yeah, and we had saw that their corners were playing pretty far off, so we knew we had the hitch. And really at that, we're just looking to get to the sticks and at least get the clock stopped so we can set some stuff up. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Riley does a good job of getting out. He catches it and he knows first down or out of bounds.
Yep.
So, I mean, he does both of them. Mm-hmm. But that's just a really good quick release by Tink, getting it right where Riley can catch it. Riley doesn't try to run before he catches it. So, biggest thing is he catches the ball. And then, he gets some yards after, which really set us up in good position.
There's something really small here in this play in that this ball is released before Riley turns around. And you've talked about it a bunch, about the timing and the amount of work that these guys have put in after practice, during practice, all just getting that timing down. Tink knows that he's going to be open because the corners are soft. Yep. Riley knows where he needs to sit down. And then it literally is just timing, but he's got to throw that ball before he leaves, or else it's covered. He gets tackled inbounds, and it's a bigger problem. But the timing of that play, I thought was just really good. Enjoy that. Enjoy watching. Sometimes it's the simple ones that are the best. All right, this last play here, it's just a field goal, but I think this is worth talking about because I feel like the duo of Lewis and Schneemann have just continued to improve. Your holder and your kicker have continued to improve, week over week. And to be able to go out and kick a field goal hasn't always, you can't take it for granted in high school football. So Schneemann makes a 29-yarder to give you a lead at halftime here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we are confident enough in him to send him out there and make this. I mean, we know his range. We know all that. But I think those guys just work so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, they're popping over from soccer practice one day a week, and when they're there, I mean, them and Cooper it's just snap kick, and they're repping so much. So, I mean, at this point, it just seems like muscle memory. I mean, I was a little nervous at first because we haven't held up too well on PAT.
Yep.
But, I mean, he does enough. We get this good snap. We get the ball down, and Colin hits it. I mean, I call those two my roommates because they put all their stuff in my office, so I see them a whole lot on game day. Colin really made me mad before he exploded Dr. Pepper in my office. But, I told him at first, I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to send you out there to kick. But I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
I mean, and watching it from the side, I mean, it hooked on the inside, sent us in the half with the lead, and that was all we really needed. I mean, we had the ball coming out. Unfortunately, we didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it really set us in a good spot to take the game and go with it.
For sure. All right. We're going to skip ahead. We're going to Mariemont now. So, on the road, it's your last road game of the year. Mm-hmm. I alluded to it at the beginning. Every next game is the most important game, and I don't mean that as a cliche. I mean literally every next game from here on out is the most important 100%. One. Mariemont is interesting because they're 2-6. They're 1-4 in the league. But what's interesting is since 2018, we are at 4-2 against Mariemont. Every single game of those 6 games has been a one-possession game, save for one. That one was tied 28-28 in the fourth quarter.
I remember that when we gave about 17 points in 7 minutes.
The point being that for whatever, like this game every single year since 2018 is a battle. I mean, that's what you're set up for. Records don't really matter. You're coming in at 3-5, they're coming in at 2-6. It doesn't matter. This game's going to be a battle. It's right down the road. How do you go get a win on Friday night?
I think we just have to stay with what we're doing. We just got to play how we're playing. I mean, that's really the only thing we got to focus on. I mean, if we show up and we play our game, like we have the past few weeks, I think, good things are going to happen at some point. I've been talking to my buddies, and I've been talking to, other coaches, and it just sucks because it feels like we're right there every single week. At some point we're going to push through that and get one of these close games. We're going to pull it out. And I mean, hopefully this is the week, but like you said, it seems like every time we play Mariemont, something happens. I mean, 2 years ago it was Alfred forcing a fumble on the goal line, sealing the game for us. I mean, you look back, I think 3 years ago when they were here and, we gave up all those points and I mean, they had a pick six on a screen and we fumble. I mean, so you just look at it and it just seems like there's always something that happens in the game. But really it's just, the message has just been, if you guys want to keep the season going, if you guys want to play, you got to win. And I think they've really bought into that. We've had a good week so far. I mean, it just seems like they're really focused in and they're really locked in on getting a win this week.
The reality is we've talked about it over and over. I mean, everything is still right there in front of you. You win this game, you turn into the Madeira game at home, you find a way to win that one, you're 5-5, the playoff spot's locked in at that point. I mean, I think, I don't want to get into scenarios and all of that stuff because this game's the only one that actually matters right now, but you can still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You can still win games in the playoffs. You are not going to play any team in your division or lower the rest of the year until you get to the playoffs. That'll be a division, for the first time all year, you're going to play somebody in your same division. Yeah. It's all right there in front of you. What is your message for the rest of the year for this team, just about finishing this season strong? There's still so much to play for.
Yeah, and I think it's just really harping on what we've been harping on, and it's really just a lot of, what are you going to define success as, and how successful do you want to be? I mean, is making the playoffs just your main goal, or do you want to win a playoff game? If you want to accomplish that goal, then we have to take care of week 9 and 10. I think it's just nice to see that we've gotten to the point where we're playing 48 minutes. We're not questioning effort anymore. Kids want to be there. They want to play. But now it's, okay, can we do that, but finish the game?
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest thing is we just got to finish the game. If you guys want to get to your goals, if you guys want to get to the playoffs, if you want to get places that the school's never been before, how bad do you want it? And what are you willing to do? And I think it's really resonated with some of the guys and some of our leaders. And I think we're in a good spot, and I think we're going to go out there and put on a pretty good show this week.
All right, Friday night at Mariemont Kusel Stadium over there. In Mariemont. So,
I really do like the stadium. One of my favorites, actually.
I played a lot of high school football games down there. So it's a great place to watch a football game. Get out there Friday night, wear your red and black, be loud. If you can't watch it, I do believe Mariemont streams their games on YouTube as well. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Deer Park Coaches Show. As always, he's Tucker Berger. I'm Jake Snyder. You can follow us on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you want to get us. You can get us. Make sure to listen to every week's show. Join us back next week for the Week 9 recap. Get ready for senior night. So thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you all on Friday night.